My parents in here, I'm sorry. He hasn't seen
Ladies
all the way.
and
Stop
gentlemen,
talking.
this is the main event of the evening.
We might as well just talk through the theme song now.
Now, the champion, fighting out of Los Angeles, California. This man is a movie snob with a background in fighting and a lifelong addiction to all things superhero related. Presenting the reigning, defending, undisputed host of the show, the Iron Cube.
All right, welcome to the show, everybody. As you might have guessed, we have Ryan on the podcast today.
Hi.
This is episode number 124 of the Iron Cube Fights Movies. This episode is available on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, and hosted by SoundCloud. We now have a Facebook page for the podcast you can follow for updates, as well as my 1/6 scale figure reviews. I have Infinity War Bucky coming up soon. This week, the team reviews The Joker, followed by movie, television, video game news. But I think we're going to do...
it's just Joker.
Is it just Joker?
It's just Joker.
Yeah, it is just Joker. We're going to do the news up front because there's not that much, and so we're just going to kind of cut through it. I'm Kier, your host. With me on the show today are my co-hosts Emerson.
Hey, what's going on?
And Everett.
Hey, what's going on?
And also Ryan.
Hi.
So I'm going to read the synopsis. Forever alone in a crowd, failed comedian Arthur Fleck seeks connection as he walks the streets of Gotham City. Arthur wears two masks, the one he paints for his day job as a clown, and the guise he projects in a futile attempt to feel like he's part of the world around him. Isolated, bullied, and disregarded by society, Fleck begins a slow descent into madness as he transforms into the criminal mastermind known as the Joker. I don't know about that last part, but all right. I'm going to explain our rating system. On this show, we give the titles we've watched with a rating of win, draw, or loss. A win is a title. Why? We can hear it, Ryan.
It was the bird. I don't. I'm telling you. It's Trump.
Jesus.
A win is a title that we would highly recommend, while a draw is a title we didn't love but recognize others may appreciate. A loss means we do not recommend the title. All right. Who wants to go first?
I can.
All right.
So I give this movie a win. I really liked Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker. I liked the drab, dark cityscape. I thought that this was a scarier, more realistic Joker. Not comic book-esque, not villain-esque, but just scary because, I don't know, this seems like someone who could realistically lose their mind. I have some issues with how the movie starts to end. So I flirted with giving this a draw, but looking back, I think that it's a solid movie. It's interesting. It's well shot. I like the music. I love the acting's really good, and it's gritty and violent, and it more or less stands on its own, which is something I give it a lot of props for, considering Jared Leto's Joker, where he's like, I've got damaged on my forehead. So I give it a win. I enjoyed it, but there are a few things that I'll talk about in the podcast that I think were odd choices to make.
Okay. I completely forgot we were supposed to do the news first, so
after that, review the news.
Yeah, real quick, the Irishman trailer, you guys want to give it a quick rating? I give it a win.
Yeah,
Same
I give
here.
it a win as well. It's
Did
interesting.
you see it, Ryan?
Which trailer? Is there a new trailer that came out that I was not?
I
saw the old
think it is.
trailer.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the new one. If it came out in the last 3 days.
Are you interested in seeing the movie?
I am. I'll tell you what. Joker and Irishman are really the two movies that I'm dying to see this year. Of course, I've seen Joker, obviously, but
The only thing about The Irishman is that it's over 3 hours long.
that doesn't bug me, especially if I'm doing it
That
on Netflix.
annoys me.
I think it's a
that's
bad
little
sign.
Too long.
I mean, if it's good, I hope it's 48 hours long. I mean,
Yeah, but usually that means it's not. It's gonna have some extra fat in it.
yeah, we'll see. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, the reviews so far have been phenomenal. Nothing
They've been
short
good,
of-
yeah.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty season 4 official trailer.
Yeah.
It looked good, actually.
It looked good. But,
Yeah, it looks good,
yeah.
but it's pretty short. I wonder why they've decided to do only 5 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that though, because based on what you see in there, they kind of were doing like some magic stuff. Rick and Morty, if you don't know, comes out with some really great comics. Like, like they have a lot of great artists that just go and spearhead their own like comic books for it. And if you've never read the Rick and Morty D&D 4-issue series, I think they might be adapting that for this. And if so, I'm really excited for that. That's like one of my
cool.
favorite series.
Birds of Prey trailer. You should have
Oh,
seen it
God.
before this movie.
Yeah, I saw it.
It
Did you
looked
see it,
terrible.
Ryan?
I saw it before this movie. I also saw it online.
I give that a loss.
It looks awful.
It looks better than Suicide Squad.
Well, that's because
You mean the new one or the previous one?
The travesty that I had to sit through.
But how much better does it look?
To me, it looks on par with Suicide Squad.
I would say it's the same or worse.
Considering- Suicide
thought it
Squad
looked
won
horribly
a-
shot.
Suicide Squad, I think, was it an Emmy or an Oscar for their costumes?
Whatever.
It doesn't matter. So.
Christopher Eccleston, who played Malekith in Thor: The Dark World, has changed his tune about returning to the MCU, because before he said, I was in makeup for 6 or 7 hours a day. They didn't tell me that up front, so I wasn't pleased. There was a lack of humor in the film, so I felt like I wanted to move on. Blah, blah, blah. So now he feels that Thor Ragnarok was brilliantly written, and he would do a third if it was written by the guys who wrote the third one. Or he would do another
Great.
film if it was written. So I'm actually okay with that, but whatever.
I like Christopher Eccleston. He's pretty good. He's good.
All right, and then why? What are
What
you
is
doing?
that
Ryan?
noise?
That's the bird. That's the bird hitting the microphone. Listen. He's out of control. Okay. He won't stop tweeting. He's a maniac. What do you want? Trump, stop tweeting. Okay.
Wow, you really.
All right,
worked
the
to set
biggest
that one
news
up.
Didn't.
is Zack Snyder has revealed that General Swanwick was Martian Manhunter.
What?
What?
Yeah,
Why?
you guys remember him?
Yeah, I remember
No,
him.
who
but
the hell is General Swanwick?
He was Swanwick. He was the black guy, the black general. He was in Man of Steel, and I think he was in Batman and Superman.
Yeah, he was the guy that Lois Lane took the bullet she found in Afghanistan to.
Oh,
that guy?
okay. Does that matter though?
I mean, it doesn't matter at
No.
all now, but yeah.
That's just like a stupid retcon.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the news. Everett, your rating for the Joker?
For Joker,
Wait. What about Spider-Man back in the MCU? Did you already cover that?
Yeah, that was last week.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Okay, I just making sure it was covered. I mean, it's big news. Okay, how about the fact that Bob Iger
45
released? Bob Iger said, "Yeah, you only have to deal with me for another 39 minutes."
No, what I'm saying is, if you want to discuss the movie, Ryan, let's move to the
No,
movie.
but I'm not good at discussing movies. Let me give the news. Bob Iger recently revealed on Jimmy Kimmel that it was Tom Holland who called him up and said, "Listen, you got to make this deal. You got to make this work. Spider-Man needs to be in the MCU." And Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, said that it was Tom Holland that made it happen, and that the reason that he called Sony was because of Tom Holland. I think that's awesome. You want to talk about a guy who cares about the product he's putting out. Can we all definitely say that Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man yet?
Maybe I'm cynical, but I think that story's bullshit, and I think it's being
Maybe.
crafted to like sell headlines. And
Maybe.
like,
And also so that people go up and say, oh my God, Tom Holland's the best
Yeah.
Spider-Man yet.
Yeah.
plus
And
I
he is.
feel like getting into that conversation will make this last another hour because I think
Okay,
all
I'm
of us
done.
have different. views
Anyways,
on that.
news over.
No, I gotta say, that would suggest that the argument was literally so flimsy that Tom Holland only had to be like, "Come on, guys," to make the deal happen.
That's the best negotiation tactic there is. Come on, guys.
All right, Everett, rate the film.
I give it a win. Basically, kind of what Emerson said. It's a great film. It's very well made, very well acted. In my opinion, if you've ever read the comics, you'll know that in canon there's 3 different types of Jokers. So there's the comedian, the gangster, and the psychopath. I feel Joaquin Phoenix does the best job he possibly can at doing the comedian version of the Joker. And by far, I think he's definitely my favorite of doing the comedian. And other than that, like I'll go into detail about it later, but I thought it was a great movie. I think it has some pretty terrifying afterthoughts that maybe we can go into later, but I really enjoyed it. I'd also like to make a note that this is a very rare moment where we were in the theater and no one talked, no one was on their phone, and pretty much no disturbances happened.
Yeah, we had a great audience.
So that was a plus.
Ryan,
Yeah.
your rating?
I give it a win. I'm very enthusiastic about it. I think that, if someone was really attached to the mythology of the Joker or some of the comic backstory, that I could see why this would be frustrating, because it paints the Joker as basically just a mental illness and somebody who is so delusional that they saw a social movement that was happening around them and somehow plopped themselves into the middle of it, took credit for it, but was not a mastermind, was just basically a street urchin that happened to be at the wrong place or right place at the right time. I love what Everett just said about the different facets of the Joker. What were the three you said? You said the comedian, the psychopath, and
the comedian, the psychopath, and the gangster.
Comedian, the psychopath, and the gangster. Obviously, we didn't see any of the gangster, but here's how I feel about Joaquin Phoenix's performance. I feel that it was an incredible presentation of mental illness. I thought that the human side of the Joker, or if this is the quote unquote origin story of the Arthur Fleck Joker, that he was phenomenal as that transitioning nutbag, but in terms of the comedian, or like the finished product, the finished Joker, that's where I think his performance weakened a bit, because obviously and that's not a fault of his, that the way the character was painted was not a psychopath mastermind. It was just really a street urchin. So I guess if somebody asked me how do I feel Heath Ledger versus Joaquin Phoenix, I'd say that there's two different characters, and it's, you can't compare them. But I certainly did miss seeing some of that assured Joker mastermind, but that wasn't this movie.
Yep. All right. Yep. So I'm torn between giving this a win and a draw. Thing is, based on our criteria, you give a draw when you didn't really love the movie, but you recognize that other people would have loved the movie, which I definitely do. But that would mean that aside from other people liking it, I would give it a loss, which I don't think I would give it a loss. I feel weird about giving it a win, but I have to, I came out of the film thinking to myself that this was a very well done film, but something about it wasn't right. And as I thought about it a little more, and as more time has passed, I'm a little bit less impressed with it. And some of its flaws, have caused me to have less. It caused the film to have less of a lasting impression on me. But I definitely felt weird coming out of the film. I definitely had an impression coming out. So I guess I have to give it a win for pure entertainment value. But I do want to talk about some stuff narratively. And I take the narrative side of movies really seriously, obviously. And if you don't, I think you're going to love the movie. But so here's some ways. Let's go into spoilers now. But here's some ways we could talk about it. There's this article on comicbook.com that has 10 unanswered questions. So I figured maybe we could go through those, and then afterwards we could discuss anything that we didn't touch on.
Yeah.
All right. I'm down.
All right, so here's some questions. Was there something more sinister about his coworker, the guy that gave him the gun? He calls him boy.
Yes, he was trying to get him fired because he was a jealous clown that wanted all of the hirings, and it was a competitive workplace environment. And he was basically setting him up for failure.
I don't think he was super malicious, but I think he was genuinely just he liked to kind of mess with him. He seemed to be the type of guy who he'll shake your hand and then talk crap about you behind your back, which is what he did. I also think that it's shown that I think when he comes to the apartment, it proves that he's not this malicious, like, oh, I wanted to get you fired. He's just kind of like opportunistic. He only comes to the apartment because he wants to know if Joaquin Phoenix has said anything to the cops about him. But, you know, if he was more malicious, he wouldn't care, or he wouldn't go, in my opinion.
Yeah, he definitely seemed like one of those people that would turn tail at the sight of danger. Like he seemed okay at first, like he was looking out for Joaquin Phoenix, but then as soon as the police got involved, he immediately did a 180 and was like, "Oh yeah, like he tried to buy a gun off me, he done this, he done that."
Well, so the article, like the point the article's trying to make is that the guy refers to him as his boy at one point, and then, and this could just be a narrative flaw, but yeah, he got Arthur fired, but the brutality in which he kills him seems to suggest there was like something else going on. Do you guys feel any of that?
Are you hinting at like pedophilia? Like, what are you?
I mean, not pedophilia, but like some sort of maybe mental abuse of a mentally ill person, like taking advantage of him over a long period of time.
Well, I kind of feel like there was a bigger scope to that, if that's what you're implying. Because remember, he said, what was the name of the short guy? What was his name? You know, it doesn't
Gimli,
matter.
I think.
Whatever it is, he said he was the
Oh
only
my
guy
God.
that was nice to him throughout the entire time he worked there, right? So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess that's what he does to people who aren't nice. All right, here's another question. What did Arthur do to Sophie? So,
I think he killed her.
yeah, so the interactions are in his head.
Right.
Ryan, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just
Okay.
listening.
The interactions are clearly in his head. We see that is revealed. And the next thing you see after he does the fingers to the head thing is him leaving in the hallway.
Yeah, with the music playing.
And he's laughing uncontrollably. And then you hear sirens outside. Which I didn't really notice, but the article says there were. So.
I think he killed her for sure.
yeah, now that I think about it, I feel like that's definitely an option.
Well,
Because here's my logic, right?
yeah.
If he hadn't killed her and the police were coming, then they would go to his apartment. But they never do until much later.
If he hadn't killed her and the police were coming,
So you said they heard sirens outside. I didn't hear them either. But so like, let's say that like if she had called the cops because he was just in her apartment and then left, why didn't the cops go to his apartment?
did she
You
call
see
the
what
cops?
I'm saying? Well, that's what the implication of sirens outside is, isn't it? Here's the thing. I didn't hear any sirens, but
Maybe someone called the cops, yeah.
I assumed when he left, she was dead. That's what I assumed.
Well, I forgot about the fingers to the temple thing. That makes me think. In the movie, I didn't think that. I kind of forgot, honestly. Like, I forgot about her. Did you guys think that she was dead in the movie?
I absolutely did.
I just think they left it open ended. I wasn't that concerned. I think
I
by
didn't-
then he's too far gone.
I think she was
anyways, right?
brutally murdered, and Ryan is an apologist.
I didn't
That
really
might
have
be
a
true.
thought.
Ryan, I think you leaned away from your mic or something?
Yeah, that's true. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay, is Thomas Wayne Arthur's father?
No.
You know what? I'd like to bring up a point though, since you brought up Thomas Wayne. He was such an asshole in this movie. Like,
I don't
I
think
think
so.
reasonably.
The
I
whole
think he was a
pla-
reasonable guy.
the whole
I think
Wayne
he's what
family
you
was just
expect
weird.
from a rich white guy.
And I mean, he seemed pretty normal. Everything he did was like, it made sense to me.
Yeah, he reminded me of a lot of parents I meet, at the school that I work at.
But what I was going to say is, so here's the thing. I'm torn on that, Kia. Because on the one hand, I do believe that Arthur's mom is insane. And, like, there seems to be a lot of evidence that, like, she was a nut and didn't know what was going on. But at the same time, that idea that he forged the paperwork, I didn't believe it until he has that picture of her where on the back it says, "Love your smile."
That's the last thing we see about this issue
Yeah.
that kind of suggests that there was a relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, love your smile. Who would you write that to? Unless it
Exactly.
was someone you're sleeping with.
Or
Yeah,
just like some fan that came up to you and asked for an autograph.
Well, they kept bringing up in this movie.
No, I'm
That-
serious. I mean, she could
No,
just
I
be
know
a
you
stalker.
leaned away from the mic again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Anyway, they kept bringing up in this movie that Thomas Wayne has the power if he really wanted to cover that up. So I'm sure if there was a relationship,
But he did cover it up.
yeah, that's what I'm getting to. I'm saying if he covered it up, like all the times that she would try to say, "Hey, that guy and I had a relationship," and it was just deny, cover up, that could cause some sort of psychosis, right? Like just that level of denial.
The thing is, like, I do believe that she was like chaining Arthur to the radiator, and that her boyfriend was like beating him. So
I thought it was her boyfriend was doing that. She just was letting it happen.
yeah, but that's the same thing. What I'm saying is like she was mentally ill. I believe she was just as mentally ill. So the thing is, I'm not sure. I believe there's a lot of evidence that Thomas Wayne could be his dad, and I believe there's a lot of evidence that he couldn't be.
Here's another thing though with our like foster system, adoption system. She would not get Arthur back.
Well, once he's 18, he can come back.
Yeah, once he's 18, but that happened when he was a kid. So, you know, he says at the beginning of the movie, "I've been the man of the household for as long as I can remember." That suggests that she got him back, which to me is, later we'll get to the question of, was the whole thing real or fake?
Yeah.
I don't see any way that he ends up with her after that.
Yeah, maybe
In
you have
fact,
a point.
what would you do with him after that? Probably put him in some sort of therapy. He doesn't do well.
Well, he
ends
was
up
in
an
Arkham.
institution. Yeah,
Already at the start of the movie.
yeah, and I think that's where he ends. And I
I
think
don't think he ever left. Yeah.
I don't think he ever left either. Yeah, and the main evidence is that adoption thing. It just doesn't, unless it's just an oversight, like a plot hole. But how do you get that kid back after you chained him to the radiator and allowed all that shit?
If you perhaps, can prove that it was the boyfriend, and that the boyfriend was,
She
prosecuted
has all
for
that
his
mental
crimes.
illness, all that documented mental illness.
True. I like I said, and like I'm agreeing with you. I don't think he ever left the mental asylum.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not as fun of a solution, but I think that's the story that's being told.
So then, how do you explain the whole, is he the son? Like that mystery, is that just all like his story in his head?
Yeah, I think so. I think
so,
that's
too.
all added in. I mean, anybody who's anybody in Gotham will know how Bruce Wayne was made an orphan. Like, it's not implying there's nothing in that story that says Bruce Wayne is Batman. So it, as far as what the Joker or what Arthur Fleck is able to see, what I'm saying is that all of that can be envisioned from Arkham Asylum.
Arkham?
I don't know. I'm from fucking Missouri.
All right. Is Thomas Wayne the real villain of the movie?
No.
I don't think so.
Who is?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Society.
Robert De Niro.
No, Joaquin Phoenix can't be because he's the protagonist. So who's the antagonist?
I'm
I'd
telling you,
argue that-
Robert De Niro.
Murray?
I mean,
Why,
you can say
though?
he's the protagonist, but I also think he's the villain. A villain
Yeah,
can be a protagonist.
maybe Robert. Yeah, maybe Murray because he does make fun of him publicly.
Correct.
Yeah. What happened to the doctor at the end? We're meant to assume he killed
I
her, right?
assume he killed her.
She definitely died.
Well, yeah, he attacked her.
He was tracking bloody footprints on the ground.
But we've already come to understand that he's an unreliable narrator, and just because we see bloody footprints doesn't mean that they're actually there. I mean, that's obviously the trouble with this type of trope in the past that this movie went down. But obviously, yes, he attacked the doctor, and he's being corralled by the interns.
I'm gonna say another problem with the film is that it doesn't really matter if he killed her.
I don't think that's a problem. But I do agree. It's pretty open-ended.
Well, I'm saying like whether he kills or not, it doesn't matter anymore.
It's meaningless,
Yeah.
especially
Okay.
when you end the movie there.
Yeah. All right. So where did Arthur's laughing tick go? So one scene in the film that really didn't jive with me was after he killed those guys in self-defense, the rich guys, the Wall Street guys,
Yeah.
and he goes into the bathroom, I expected him to start doing the laughing tick because he was so upset. Instead, he started dancing. Whatever.
Well, I took that because he wasn't upset.
He wasn't upset, but he didn't kill them in cold blood.
He didn't, but he enjoyed killing them.
How? I mean, you do it in like a flash of the moment, and then he ran away.
What I'm saying is, like, after it was over, he's like, yeah, I'm glad I did that. And it got him a taste for murder.
I will be right back.
Okay. But
Yeah, plus, two of the murders were in self-defense, but the third one was a straight-up execution. Like, he didn't have to do that.
But the point I'm trying to make is, I'm gonna mute him. The point I'm trying to make is, I don't see how, like, I don't think narratively, him being okay with murdering makes sense. And like, you end up in that scene where he didn't really want the gun. It was kind of forced upon him. He barely knows how to handle it. Some guys are beating on him. He kills them in self-defense. How does that make him a murderer?
Well, so here's the thing. It doesn't in the sense that, like, technically with what happened, he's not completely a murderer. The third one is murder, though.
Yeah,
Because
the
when the
third
guys
one-
when the guy runs, you're not allowed to, like, pursue. The first two aren't, but here's the thing. The city doesn't know they were beating on him. People just found 3 bodies.
Yeah.
So the assumption is that these guys were just gunned down.
Right. And that would explain that to me explains why he would kill the third guy, because he's never getting away with it. So he kills the third guy because no one's ever going to believe that he was, like, especially with, like, with the way that he is, no one's ever going to believe him over those guys. Plus, he already killed 2 of them, so he's going to have to, I get that. But then, so he doesn't cry. You would think he would be in some sort of panic.
All right.
So throughout the entire movie, he's unable to control his compulsion to cackle, but by the time he truly becomes Joker, it's gone. Is that because he's realized it was all in his head, or is he finally just able to act the way he wants to?
I think it's that he's able to act the way he wants to.
I mean, yeah, I like the idea that he feels like himself and he's comfortable as the Joker.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the murdering side really jives with it. Like, to just pretend to be the Joker, a guy who does what he wants and is happy, like, that makes sense. It makes sense that he wouldn't have the tick when he does that. But I'm not sure I like the murdering.
Well, if you
I
want
think the murdering makes complete sense because he's angry. He's mad and he starts killing. Oh, yeah.
Who's he angry at?
He literally says he just has negative thoughts.
Yeah, but
Okay,
that's
so
not the
he's-
same.
No, but so he's unhappy. Okay? And then what happens? You see De Niro mocking him. You see Thomas Wayne. His mom lied to him.
He's in
Everyone-
turmoil, sure.
But I read that all as anger. He was angry at these people he felt had left him
Ryan's
down
back.
or lied to him. Right? So then he starts killing.
maybe it's a little bit deeper than that though, because like remember the whole thing, like one of the themes of this movie is like society consistently dumps on him. Like no one ever treats him right, and those that do are just in his head. So maybe at the end of the day, he doesn't view it as murder. Maybe he views it as like retribution, or like the whole.
Well, I
Like one of the
thought-
lines I say at the end is like you get what you deserve. So
Well, I
maybe
thought
he
the
doesn't think it was
murders
murder.
gave him recognition. And so that was kind of what was driving him to murder, was the recognition of the murders. That's why the Murray one makes sense, but then the other one doesn't make sense. The guy in the apartment. That one doesn't quite make sense.
That's why I'm saying he's got to be angry. Because that the way he kills him looks rage fueled. Don't you agree?
Yeah, but now he's a serial killer. And we know from Mindhunter it's not really anger.
Yeah, but
there's plenty of other stuff involved.
this is also like, I don't know. I believe he could be angry. I could believe that could be like one of his main driving forces.
Yeah, I don't know. The murdering thread just didn't quite work with me. Okay, so how much of the movie is real? We get an extended fantasy sequence where Arthur meets his idol Murray Franklin and receives his seal of approval. So that I thought that might be a flashback, and obviously never happened.
Yeah, I believe it never happened.
Yeah.
Did he ever meet Thomas Wayne?
That
did any
I
of it
believe
happen?
he did.
If you had
I
to vote,
believe-
did any of it happen?
Yes.
I believe, yeah. Some of it happened.
I think he
It
got
happened
taken
in
away.
his head.
Yeah, I think he got taken away as a kid, and that was it.
Yeah.
He bangs his head on the window, and you kind of see him banging his head still in his own story. Is he the real Joker? Is this the Joker? Like, is this meant to be an origin story? Does he go on to be the Joker?
I mean, based on what we see happen during the riots, which he shouldn't even be able to see or know about. Yeah.
Well, you could see him on TV or something. Or maybe you could hear them outside the asylum.
I don't feel like it's traditional Joker. I feel like it's a take on Joker.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Joker at all. Like, this is its own story. This is a guy who is into clowns and is a comedian, but he's not the guy that fights Batman.
Yeah.
Like that's something else. This is not that. And even Todd Phillips, the director, alluded to the possibility that he's just the man who inspires the real Clown Prince of Crime.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
because the age gap is also huge between him and Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know they kind of did like stupid things like that on that Gotham show, but this to me works as like, so in 20 years, some psycho maniac is gonna remember the clown riots and how the city was in turmoil that summer, and he's gonna like do it again, something like that.
Yeah.
Did Murray Franklin get what he deserved?
Yes.
No.
So if you say no, Emerson, then what you're really saying is that whole scene doesn't work.
I don't think. No. Okay, get what he deserved. Yeah, I'm having a confusion on what you're saying. I think the scene works, but I also don't think he deserved to get shot.
Okay, but when Arthur pulls the trigger, he says, "You get what you fucking deserve."
Yeah, but I don't have to agree with the character. I think that was an awesome scene, but I also believe that Arthur wasn't right in shooting him. I don't think he deserved to be shot. I think that Arthur's insane.
You know what? I think this movie is filled with people who have two faces. The Joker has two faces. The guy we were talking about earlier who worked with him in the clown place has two faces, like nice and mean. Thomas Wayne has two faces, how the public sees him and how he really is, like in the bathroom, if that's real. And then Murray has two faces, I feel, because like in the back when he's talking to him in his dressing room, he's all nice, he's giving him the rules, he's like super chill. Then when he's on the air, maybe it's just a persona, but he's like kind of an asshole, like, oh, this guy needs help, or
Yeah,
he's
but
like
that's-
ragging on him.
Yeah, but so he deserves to get shot for that?
No, but I feel like he was like just being needlessly mean and kind of an asshole.
He's being
And
a
it
talk
sent
show
him
host.
over
You
the
see
edge.
Conan
Of course,
do the same thing.
he doesn't deserve to be murdered in cold blood. I think we're all in agreement that nobody
No,
deserves
it sounds
to
like
be
Everett.
murdered. No, Everett
Everett, watch
knows he
Conan
doesn't.
with Bill Burr. Conan says some stuff like, "What? What are you saying? That's insane! Like you can't believe that." It's very stereotypical late night stuff where
Yeah.
you're trying to get laughs.
He doesn't deserve to be murdered in cold blood, but he did deserve to get some kind of comeuppance, maybe just shot in the hip or something. But I kid, I mean, it is what it is, and what's interesting is that that's the scene that everybody claps as soon as Murray gets his head blown off, and that's
No one
just
in my theater clapped.
my theater clapped.
No, I gasped when that happened. I don't think anyone clapped.
Someone in our theater was laughing. It was
Yeah, I
me.
heard.
I was laughing. I thought that was hilarious. And I
I
also
mean-
thought, yeah, go ahead.
If he was a comic book character, it would be hilarious. But because the movie is so realistic, because it paints such a grounded view of mental illness, it's not so easy to laugh at. In fact, I was laughing at there was a certain point in the movie that with his tics when he would have that uncontrollable laughter, At first I was not laughing at it. I felt terrible. But, it was such an assault on the senses after a while that I just gave up and I just started laughing maniacally with it.
Well, here's the thing about The Tick is that I really like the idea of he actually is upset at his criminal behavior, his murdering, and that his laugh, it sounds like chilling when he's laughing as he's doing these things, but he's actually like upset with himself. And I thought that was huh?
Yeah, and he can't control it.
Yeah, I like that. And then but then he didn't laugh at a lot of the things that he did. So I guess
because he was in more control now.
Yeah. But then it seems a little weird that he's not laughing, even for real, because he's the Joker.
Or maybe he's just forming all of his actions in order to justify the crazy laugh.
I'll say that scene, I feel like the movie really lost me when he went out on the Murray show. Like, I like the scene, but I don't think it made a whole lot of sense at all.
Well, I mean, it makes sense in the sense that that's the third time you've seen him on the Murray show, right?
Well, technically yes, but
I'm saying more like, why would Murray even do it? It's inexplicable. It's inexplicable.
Yeah,
because he's not actually there.
Sure, I'm okay with that. But if that's the real ending, then I would forgive a lot of the criticisms I have of the film. But if the story is meant to be real,
I think the story is meant to be real.
I do not. I think
I
that
don't
the
think
movie, it's proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the guy is delusional.
Yeah.
I mean, the first Murray scene is so over the top so as to hint, just so you know, when you see him on Murray, it's not actually real.
The thing that I'm sticking with here is that when you see Bruce Wayne's parents get gunned down, like I stick on that, and like the riots, the clown riots.
Yeah,
so
man,
well, that's the next
He knew
question.
about those things. Those things are in the news. You could probably hear him from his prison bars.
That's the next question. But my thing is, like, when he goes out there and he starts being weird and he doesn't follow through with his plan, like the whole movie, it says even in writing, I want my death to make more sense or something like that.
Yeah, sense CENTS.
Yeah. More than my life or something. So it's always
my death to make more sense in my life.
Yeah, it's surrounding his death. Like, it's kind of prompting you for that. It's not prompting you for him to become the Joker the way that he did. It's like the movie's not headed towards that. It's headed towards him doing some grand gesture and going out in a blaze of glory in his own mind. Like hitting back, but also being like, fuck this world, I don't belong here. Because that's how a lot of mentally ill people feel when they do stuff like that. Is like they're prepared to go out too. And then one thing that you said, Emerson, about how you think it's real, like I don't think that scene with the psychiatrist at the end would exist if it was real at all. Like I don't see how if it was all real, how you would put that scene at the end. It doesn't make. What's the point of it?
To show that he's still. To me, that scene was like suggesting to the viewers that he is the Joker. He's in this hospital. He's being addressed. He's still killing people.
So what does that scene achieve? That him being celebrated by the crowds as a clown and putting the smile in the blood. What
it achieves is showing that after it's all over, he still gets captured. He's not just out there leading rioters. But he's still killing people. He's still brutal and he's still insane.
I don't know what you get from that. Like you could.
What you get from it is the sense of that he hasn't changed. He's not he's behind bars technically inside the asylum, right? He's technically locked up, but it doesn't mean anything because he's still him. He still has access to people.
Right, but he was all that before he got locked up.
Exactly, but the point there is that by the end, right, he does this thing. He becomes this larger-than-life figure leading the riots. He has his moment in the spotlight, literally, right? And then it ends, and it's like, oh, okay, he's locked up. He's been curtailed.
But what does that say about the state of Gotham?
What it says about the state of Gotham is that Gotham's messed up. Now, one thing, though, now that I'm discussing this that makes me more inclined to agree with you is they pulled funding for social services. And when we're in Arkham, when he's there like getting the files on his mom is much dirtier, than the Arkham that we're shown at the end. So there is a disconnect there. But
Well, I'm just saying it seems like they're trying to tell us that the Gotham at the end of the film where he's out in the streets, that's the Gotham that Batman grows up in and ends up fighting. So if you end it there, then he is out there and Gotham has turned and things are much different now. But then you apprehend him and put him in the psychiatry department, and then he kills the psychiatrist. Like, whoa, okay.
to me, that's just extending on the brutality.
But didn't he just kill a guy on live TV?
Yeah, but this is different because what did that psychiatrist do to him?
If you killed a guy on live TV, do you think he end up in a mental hospital?
Now that I
think
have
he'd be
to
in
agree
prison.
with, but
That's
I was
why
also,
I think
I'm
beyond a
treating this
reasonable
as
doubt,
That's a
it's
great
proven
point,
that this
actually.
didn't happen.
I'm treating this as a comic book movie though.
It's not a comic book movie though.
I don't think it is. It started to tread in the third act.
That's what I'm saying,
with like the Wayne stuff, but
And
But then the
so I've read
psychiatry
that they're
thing
considering making a sequel.
There's
The
no
direct-
way that there'll be a sequel.
The director
I have
said if
something
it
on that, yeah.
if it does well, we'll make a sequel. And he said that it was meant to stand alone, but it could be a sequel and it could
Really?
lead into Batman. All of that stuff makes me believe that it is real. It is a comic book movie. But I recognize what you guys are saying.
okay, but what that sounds to me
I thought
is
he had
like,
already said that he'll never
Yeah. Yeah.
be seen in Robert Pattinson's Batman.
No, that's not going to happen. Okay, but let me read this quote and let me tell you what I think. So this is Joaquin Phoenix. You know, I wouldn't have thought about this as my dream role, but now honestly I can't stop thinking about it, admitted Phoenix. I talked to Todd a lot about what else we might be able to do in general, just to work together, but also specifically, if there's something else we can do with the Joker that might be interesting. So it ended up being a dream role. It's nothing that I really wanted to do prior to working on this movie. I don't know that there is more to do. Me and Todd would still be shooting now if we could, right? Because it seemed endless. The possibilities of where we can go with the character. I would disagree and say that I don't think you can go anywhere else with this character. He's not
And see,
the criminal mastermind.
I agree with
Yeah.
you, Kia. But the thing is, if they do decide to go somewhere else, then that would imply that almost everything that happened in this movie was real.
No,
And that
okay,
he is
so
the Joker.
based on those comments you mentioned, this is the first week. This is like the word of mouth crowd going now. This is the crowd that wants franchises and sequels, and so they're pandering to that. Joaquin Phoenix does not want to do these type of franchises, and even if he did, this Joker is not a Joker. So I really don't see it happening, and for sure he's not going to be in that Robert Pattinson film, for sure.
Well, I'll say something. Even though I love the movie, I give it the highest accolades and praise I can. I did not like Joaquin Phoenix. His Joker, once he had become the Joker, I just didn't think he was confident enough. But I give him the Oscar. I think he was tremendous. But
I think he gets an Oscar.
yeah, I think so. But I think once he was the Joker, I think he was not enough in charge and didn't have enough of a presence to carry that scene.
I feel like there were some parts where he had some swagger. Like when they did, like, he was walking in the elevator and stuff like that.
There were some, yeah.
But, yeah, when he gets on the show, that's not Joker. That's just, like,
That's a
I don't know
street
what that
urchin
was.
that's
Yeah.
mentally insane with clown makeup.
yeah. And so what did he want, ultimately? What did Joker want? What did Arthur Fleck want?
To be noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So
Famous.
if he wants to be noticed and he kills Murray Franklin
On live TV.
and he admits to those other murders. Oh, what the
I have
was
no idea
Everett.
what that
I didn't
was.
do it. I didn't
That
do
was
it.
Everett.
What? Yeah, hold on. Sorry. Is it gone?
Yeah. So are all our listeners. So, okay, so he kills all those people. He got noticed. Does he achieve his goal?
Yeah.
But there's also another side of that where it's like he abandons Arthur Fleck and becomes the Joker. Is that what he wanted, or did he want to be noticed as Arthur Fleck?
I think they're not exclusive. I think they can support one another. Because if he becomes the Joker, and gets noticed as the Joker, he's still being noticed.
I don't know. Do you
And I
guys
think-
think that he did a full transformation from Arthur to Joker? Or is he still Arthur?
I think he's still Arthur. She calls him Arthur at the end. Well, Eddie, he kills her.
He definitely
though, so I
seems like
guess-
Arthur in that therapy session.
Yeah.
So then what did he... I don't know. Like, what was the point of being the Joker then?
The Joker was his method of getting noticed.
But nobody's celebrating Arthur. They're celebrating Joker.
Yeah, but they know he is Joker.
Yeah, but the movie doesn't really establish that they're celebrating the man Arthur. They're celebrating the Joker as a symbol.
Yes.
So I don't know that he really achieved it, because he, even if everything is true, then he's locked up in another, like, a therapy thing, and
Right.
like I don't get where he's back at square one, which kind of makes you think he never left, you know.
Honestly,
But yeah, yeah. What?
well, you know what might be what I've been thinking of, kind of an alternate plot that might be interesting. Like hypothetically, so you were saying that this guy's not the original Joker, that maybe 20 years down the line someone else sees what he did and becomes the real clown prince of crime. What if alternatively, considering maybe he never left the asylum in the first place and he never really stopped being Arthur Fleck in the first place, what if, like, in some, like, weird way, that last scene is, like, him in the present, like, now, like, in the 2000s, and, you know, like, Batman's already established and the Joker's, like, a name. What if he, like, idolized the Joker to a point where he envisioned himself as something like that, someone at the center of attention, someone that was recognized by everyone, but it was all in his head, it was never real.
So I think that there's like a big reach there, but I will say I do feel like that final scene, something about that does feel more modern. It's brighter, it's cleaner. Something about it feels more modern to me. So that's interesting to me.
So here's the last question. What was that final joke? And he tells her that she wouldn't get it. Isn't there some
Well-
parallel to the Killing Joke? Isn't that how it ends, with them laughing about a joke?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's yeah, he tells that joke about the flashlight and the two guys escaping jail, and he and Batman both start hysterically laughing, and then as it pans out, the Joker suddenly just cuts off and it's just Batman laughing, so it's implied that he killed the Joker, but I can see the parallel sort of, but I really don't, I can't really understand what the joke is. I can't really get that through my head.
So
The joke is that he just literally created his own alter ego and story and doesn't give a fuck about what happens in the
real
insane
world. Yeah,
asylum.
that's what
Yeah.
I was gonna say. If you prescribe to that theory, then that is the joke. The joke
This-
is the entire movie we just watched.
Correct.
This is my theory, and this could potentially relate to the Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves film. In Arthur Fleck's world, there is a Batman, and the Waynes did get murdered, and there probably is a Joker too. And Arthur's story is about like him sort of imposing himself on what happened, and the joke is that Thomas Wayne gets killed by the people he was trying to help and also the people he indirectly shunned. And like that's kind of the funny thing, is like as he rises, Thomas Wayne falls and the city goes into chaos. And if you consider that there is a real Batman in Arthur Fleck's world, but then he would have to know he's Bruce Wayne.
I think that it's much simpler than that. I think the joke is that he doesn't give a fuck because he does not live in the real world.
But if
The
it's
joke was
that
the whole film.
simple, then it's kind of not a good like part of the movie.
Well, I mean, it's a letdown in the sense that, this isn't a Joker origin story. It's a street urchin who's just mentally ill. You know, but that's the movie we got. And I loved it.
Well, I mean, like I said earlier when I gave my review, there's 3 different Jokers that are supposed to represent 3 separate versions of the comic era. And the comedian Joker would have made sense for the comedian Joker, because he's from like the golden age where like things were a little bit more jokey, wasn't that violent. Like, but this, I get that this is violent, but he doesn't have to be the gangster, the psychopath. He could be his own iteration.
I don't know what that joke was, to be honest. And the way he says it though makes you think that the whole thing was nonsense. Let me ask you this: what was the point of the film?
To make money?
I think
That
it was
we need background checks before we give mentally ill people handguns.
Do you
Well,
think that was the overall message, though, Ryan?
No,
I
I
think
think the
there was-
overall message is that that we are a society that really mythologizes mentally ill villains, and when it comes time for, I mean, literally, we have gone generations thinking that the Joker is this chaotic mastermind, but yet he's pulling strings when in fact he's just a mentally ill street urchin that's the guy that's asking you for change on the corner of the street, and that
Yeah.
there's nothing special about
I
it.
like
And
that
my-
idea, but is
my
that the point?
interpretation of
I
it was
think it is.
similar to that. I think the point was to show us someone who is mental ill who can become this type of monster. That was what I looked at as it was.
Are you supposed to look at him at the end as a monster?
I think you're definitely supposed to be disturbed. You sympathize with him because
Yeah.
you've seen him go through all this, but you're definitely supposed to be disturbed, and you're not supposed to idealize him. You're not to say, "Oh, what he did is okay." And
But the
just,
movie
well,
does kind of like touch on that a little bit,
yeah, it
like
does.
in a
and
heavy-handed way.
It disturbs me, by the way, because you know how there's all these articles like, "Is this going to inspire shooters?"
Yeah.
I would bet right now 100%. Because if you're mentally ill and you see this movie, the chances of you being able to understand the nuances of it are very
Well, Ryan and I were discussing that. Ryan didn't quite agree with me, but I agree with you, Emerson.
Yeah, if you're mentally look at all the shootings we're already having. People are getting motivated by God knows what. If you're mentally ill and you come see this movie, the chance of you understanding the nuances is so little. What you'll see is you'll see this guy who's being idolized, who's achieving, who's sticking it to him.
And all you have to do is make a big scene and be recognized. So all it
And-
takes is the
and-
wrong person to see it, and
This is a longer conversation that's not going to. I disagree. I don't think the movie has any responsibility whatsoever.
Well, we agree.
think-
I
I'm not
agree with you
talking
on
about
that.
responsibility. I'm just saying someone is gonna see it and definitely gonna use
Yeah,
this
but they
as a
would see
motivation.
they would see a stop sign and think that it was talking to them and that
I
he
don't-
should go stop and kill
I don't
his
agree
mother
with
and
that. I think
decapitate
there
her.
are gonna be some people who this is their trigger point, but I
Ryan
don't
is
blame
right.
the movie.
Ryan is right, but Emerson is also right that the movie will speak to a certain type of person.
No, Emerson is wrong.
No, Ryan is wrong.
No, Emerson
But
is wrong.
I have students that I'll be honest, like sitting in that theater watching Arthur, I saw like I can think of like 3 students that I saw a lot of them in Arthur Fleck, and he's a little bit embellished, but there's the aspects of like women don't like you, you're lonely, you don't know how to make friends, everyone thinks you're the weirdo, you feel like the world rejects you constantly. You're angry about that. You find strength in your anger. Like you think it's powerful, even though we know it's not, but you think it is. And you start to resent. You think that because everyone hates you, that your only choice is to hit back because that's the way the world is, which isn't really true. Like the truth is, no one really cares about you, and you kind of have to make your own way. But they don't understand that. And I just found it a very scary thing that it starts to show like he finds release in violence, and I know kids that think like that. I know kids that think like
I
that.
agree. I've met people who think like that.
And
Yeah.
I'll tell you
And-
guys, I told this to Ryan, but I have a kid right now who said, and he said this in a hospital, like a mental hospital. He said, "I'm that school shooter kid you don't see coming." And they released him because you can't really do anything until he does something.
Well, now you can see him coming.
I try to. I mean, there's only one way in and one way out of my room, and
Yeah.
my room is the only place he goes
And
to.
I'd
so.
like to point out colleague of mine in one of the classes. I don't know him very well, but he was raving about this movie today. He said he saw it 6 times. He's saying it's so good, it's so powerful, it speaks to our society. And the thing is, he's always been kind of quiet and weird. I'm gonna be real. Now I'm thinking about him like, oh god, is he gonna like why? Why is like I'm like do I want to go to class today? Does he have a big bag? Is he reaching into his backpack? Like I'm like so
I
now
mean, I think about that anyway. Like everywhere I go, I think about that now because you just don't know. You can't go to any public event. Really.
I think that's a
Yeah.
real shame because I think the movie is arguing the opposite. I don't think it's a violent movie at all. I think people that are incited. I think people that are incited to violence by this movie are should not be allowed to leave their house.
okay,
it's-
but Ryan, look at the
It is
state the
not a
country's in now.
violent movie.
There are people who are angry and they're just looking for an excuse. They're looking for something to push them over the edge.
And
I'm not blaming
The
this
worst
movie.
thing that we can do is put restrictions on art in circumstances.
No, I'm not even
such as
calling
We're
for
not arguing
restrictions
for
on
that,
art.
yeah.
I'm just saying, regardless, it's gonna happen, and this movie, there are gonna be people who this movie will reveal. I'm not
There
saying
are-
put
the-
restrictions on it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying,
Well, that's what will happen. Is somebody's going to come out and
Oh,
have a mass shooting, and then they're going to say, "Well, we can't have movies like Joker. It's Joker's fault." And now we're going to have a new rating system.
well,
You know,
there's okay, but here's the thing though, like, I mean, you're right. Someone will say that, but that's not what we're saying.
But
And
but
it's-
he is a mentally ill person that finds like comfort in killing. That's a pretty
cathartic.
dangerous
Have you
sentiment
tried
right
it? It's very cathartic.
I mean, I think I see where Ryan's coming from. It's the same situation where Lee Harvey Oswald read To Kill a Mockingbird and killed
Yeah,
Killed John
no more
Lennon.
Boo Radley.
but and
Well,
like
we're not
yeah,
arguing
and
with Ryan.
But I'm,
Yeah,
I'm
we're
saying,
saying
like
we agree.
You're wrong.
I think just
We're
the whole
agreeing with you.
I know.
the whole basis is it doesn't matter like who made it, why they made it, or the fact that it's out there now. Anyone with this level of thinking can see anything that speaks to them, and that can be the spark. This
Yeah,
is
but
just
I
that. This could be
guarantee-
that spark.
The
is what
Last
we're saying.
But
Jedi
I
is
think this is
responsible for
more-
more shootings and deaths than Joker.
I think this is more likely because it deals with a subject matter. It deals with mental illness. It deals with rejection. It deals with disconnection from society. It deals with violence as an outlet for this. Very few movies address it in that way. I think that's why we like it so much.
Can I
Okay.
point out one thing this film does well on this point? When they talk about how they can't fund his meds, and as soon as he's off his meds, like things go off the rails. And like people tell him like you need to get back on your meds, and he kind of says like I need my meds that one time.
Yeah.
That's real. I know kids that hear voices unless they take their meds. Like there are people walking around right now they've graduated, they're adults, the government is not watching them anymore, and their only interaction is with their parent, their single parent, who's also mentally ill, and that's who's keeping them in check from doing something crazy. And they might see this movie, and I don't know, like Emerson said, I don't think they're going to see the nuance in it. I think they're going to see like, hey, here's an idea, here's a way to get back at the world.
Yeah, I agree completely. Because you know what? Like, for example, remember after Columbine, Kia and Ryan, you probably remember this better. After Columbine, there was this big saying like, oh, well, they played Doom. Doom
Yes.
is why they did this. Doom
Yes.
and heavy metal.
And
Okay?
and the response was that they started putting a rating system on video games.
Which was stupid because these people were insane.
Yeah.
But what my point is that I do believe that mentally ill people are attracted to certain types of things and can get triggered by certain types of things. That does not mean ban the thing, because guess what? They're going to find a way to get triggered by everything. I'm just saying that it's disingenuous to not admit that when you delve into something serious and something that requires nuance and something that's violent, there are going to be people who look at this, don't understand it in the correct way, and start to do crazy things.
Yeah, I disagree. I do disagree with that. I honestly think I'm going to call it the helter-skelter argument. I think Frozen 2 has as much of a chance, if not more, of convincing people to go kill their coworker as opposed to Joker. If Charles Manson can find a hidden message in Helter Skelter, literally, which is just a bitchin' rock and roll song, but at that time, because it was different, because it stuck out, because it was something that was new, It was somehow a message to kill Sharon Tate. I
You
don't think
make
that
a
was
good point, but I will say that the movie doesn't exactly like shun his actions.
Yeah, he gets this scene where he's being praised. There's people cheering in the streets for him. The people he takes out, they've done things to him that are
Where does
negative.
he end up?
I mean,
But
But the
that's
thing is,
still, I mean,
he's
I'm
still
okay
free.
with that if that's the ending. But I don't think most people are gonna figure out that they're just gonna be like, oh, he got caught.
yeah, that's what I agree too. And the
Okay,
thing
well
is
then
that,
he got caught, and now he spends the rest of his days in a mental.
yeah, but if you're mentally ill, you don't care if you get caught. If
Yeah,
you're
you're-
mentally ill, you want that moment where everyone's cheering you on.
Yeah,
I
you're
think
not
I would've
gonna
felt
You're
a
not going
lot-
to see the end game.
I would have felt a lot better about the film if he had just killed himself on the Murray Show without killing Murray.
then it wouldn't be Joker.
Well, what is it then? Like, it's not even Joker now.
Well,
As soon as he killed Murray, we got on the track that leads
it's
to
Joker
to
in the
Thomas Wayne
sense that
killing.
everybody has an expectation of who Joker's supposed to be. And like I said, in terms of what I think the overarching theme of this film is, it's about taking that preconceived notion where you praise and idolize a mastermind, and you paint him as just a homeless, mentally insane street urchin, and that's what Joker is, and that's the joke.
But we just argued that it isn't Joker. This isn't the real Joker, which means
Well,
the next one will be that
For the
mastermind.
audience, until they come to terms with the fact that it's not the real Joker, it is in fact the real Joker.
Or maybe we can just take this back to the argument where it's the same line that Kia said when we were talking about the intricacies of the Marvel comics. Comic books are stupid, and when they're put on film and stuff like that, some of that's gonna rub off. Like if you go back to the original source material, that shit's weird.
Yeah, you can't have Wolverine in a blue and yellow, uniform with the weird things. I don't even know what you call those things.
Well, I think the movie does kind of go off the rails when he kills Murray. As interesting as that was, but it gets very comic booky.
The movie went off the rails when he was going down. The only real complaint I have about the movie is this terrible song choice when he is finally dressed and
The
fully
rapist
decked.
guy, the pedophilia guy.
No, I'm talking about Joker. When he is fully dressed and decked out in his Joker uniform.
Yeah, but isn't
and
the
he's-
song
He's
from a
it's
pedophile?
like dun 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 dun
Oh.
dun 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 dun. Okay, come on.
But he
You
played
couldn't
that.
do
There was
anything
that other rock and roll song. People are pissed because that guy was convicted of like child pornography stuff, and they're like, "How could you put his song in the movie? Rock and roll something."
Rock
I don't
and
know.
roll is here to stay. I don't know what.
I don't know. It was on Yahoo today. And
Is
With
that,
that-
the song? Is that the song playing when he's in the police car?
no, it's when he's dancing on the stairs. But
That was the one that I had a problem with. Whatever song that was, but I think it was like "Are you ready for this?" I think that's.
It's
what
like,
the song was.
hey,
I don't remember. Are you ready for this in the movie at all?
I don't remember what was what terrible song. I just
Yeah, that's not
I don't know
in the
what,
movie.
what the fuck.
Okay, no, it's
what
called
song?
Hey Song, Rock and Roll Part 2 by Gary Glitter.
What is it called? Hey, rock and roll.
Hey Song,
Hey, song.
Rock and Roll Part 2.
Don't play it.
Gary Glitter.
I have to listen to. You won't be able to hear it. I need to hear it. If it
It's
makes
like
sure.
dun, 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 dun. Hey, dun. You know that one?
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my god, that's loud. Hopefully you can't hear that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that. Hey. Da-da-da-da.
So you didn't like that song,
You
right?
thought it was? Are you ready for
Da-da. I hated that. Dun
Dun,
dun dun. Yeah, that da-da. I'm sorry, I had the wrong stadium song.
Apparently he was into child pornography too.
Da-da. Doesn't surprise me.
Okay, how about this?
Da-dun, dun, da-dun. I can just see him raping kids while he's doing that.
I'll read you what Todd Phillips
Hey!
says. I'll read you what Todd Phillips says about the ending. There's a lot of ways you could look at this movie. You could look at it and go, this is just one of his multiple choice stories. None of it happened. I don't want to say what it is. But a lot of people I've shown it to have said, oh, I get it. He's just made up a story. The whole movie is the joke. It's this thing this guy in Arkham Asylum concocted. He might not even be the Joker.
Yeah, that's my take.
And I think that's the only like acceptable ending. The
Is
rest
that
of it,
what he's saying?
the fact that it's all a joke. Like it's not
Where'd
real.
you? What's this interview?
This is an interview with LA Times. It's on comicbookmovie.com though. That's where the article is like referencing it.
Joker ending explained. Okay.
But yeah, I mean that's the only thing that really makes sense to me. No, you're on comicbookmovie.com?
I'm on the Los Angeles Times.
Oh, okay.
You know, the more I think about it, the more I really don't want to see a sequel to this movie.
Yeah,
There
I don't want
cannot
to
be a
sequel.
sequel.
There can't
is
be.
no sequel.
There can't.
He's not
be.
the Joker. He's a cool clown mask guy, but this guy cannot fight Batman. What else are you gonna do? His rise to power again?
Honestly, if they were ever to do another Joker movie, I'd want to see the other version where he like falls into the chemicals of Ace Chemicals. I'd want to see
I don't
that.
want to see that.
I mean, they already have that in The Killing Joke, but
They have it in Michael Keaton's version.
yeah, they have
Okay,
that too.
gentlemen, I must depart. It's been a pleasure. It's been
Yeah,
fun. I love
I
doing
think we're
this. I'm
done.
sorry. Well,
Anyone
now
else
you-
got anything?
Nah.
Nah, I got nothing else.
I think we're done.
Well,
We
I
will
didn't join the
return
party.
next weekend with El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie.
Oh, I'm excited. Count me in. I will ruin that podcast too.
Are you serious? Do you actually want to do it?
Yes, I'm serious. You're all bummed out now. A collective
No, I like
sigh
having
of
you
the
on,
seven-
but the scheduling.
Okay, I will be available when you do it.
Yeah.
I will make myself available.
And when you get on, you're like, so I got to be done in 30 minutes.
Yeah, usually, probably. I'm a busy guy. What do you want?
It's
What do
okay.
you
I
want?
don't think
my
that one
time
will
is
be long.
money.
All right, next weekend, Ryan's back.
All
You want
right.
to skip that one? Go ahead.
Oh,
Bye.
See you next time.
All right, see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the Iron Coop Fights Movies. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, review our podcast on iTunes so that we can spread the show around. To contact the show, you can reach us at theironcoob@gmail.com and on Instagram at theironcoob. Join us for another edition of the Iron Coop Fights Movies.